Okay, Givaldik. So today is Chulin Daf Pei. Chulin Daf Pei. It's going to be the hemshech of the sugya of Kvi, Bez Hashem. We'll see Kvi, Koi, we'll see in a second. And then is going to be a shmooze about Torbala, a buffalo. And then we're going to have a sugya of Shchita Shein Aruya. We'll see in a second. We'll see. The Gemara is going to discuss about it. That's going to take us, Be'ez Hashem, hopefully we'll get to Pei Aleph Amid Aleph, and we'll try to get a little ahead. This way we can try to get ahead of the game for Tisha B'Av, Be'ez Hashem.
American bison
So we're going to get to bison and American buffalo. That we'll get later on by Torbala. That we'll do later. But Kvi. How do you pronounce the word? And I heard somebody being so gishmak. The Chazal don't know. How ironic is it that the animal that we don't know what it is, we don't even know how to pronounce it. It's a kretch. Yeah. It's all over. Kvi's brought up all over the time. Yeah. So, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky says that his Kabbalah, he heard from his father, the disciple, that the Kabbalah is that you take and pronounce it Kui. And I have a shtickle raya. I have a shtickle raya that we pronounce it Kui. From the what's called it? From Ma'aseh B'Choyim. Because there's a word that obviously comes from the same shirish. Cow. It's obviously the same shirish, and it definitely doesn't come from Kvi, right? So that would be a raya that maybe it should be pronounced Koi, cow, like the place the yakisha. That would be mitzad echad. Le'idach gisa, there are those that say that the word Kvi comes from, also very interessant. It comes from, but this is very creative. It comes from, it's a crossbreed. Again, the Gemara says at least like one side that it's a Taish Abala Tzivya. So it's a crossbreed of keves, which is a sheep, right? Keves, and a tzvi, kevi. Very nice, yeah. That would be a very nice shot. But the problem is, it's very nice, very, very, very. It's very creative. But the problem is, where does a keves come from? What does it have to do with keves? It's not a kevis. It's a tayash. It's a goat. It's not a sheep. So Mamela, as creative as it is, I think we're going to go with cow. No, I think cow is more mustaber that's where it comes from. Okay, but anyway, that's interesting.
Is it cow?
What? We don't know what it is. The Gemara says we don't know what it is. We're going to bring down. The Gemara is going to have a few shittas, Be'ez Hashem. It's a suffix. Right now the Gemara right now is going like the tzad that the pshat is that it's a crossbreed of it comes from a tzvi and a goat, from a goat and a goat and a deer. Yeah. Okay, that's this Gemara. Okay, that's one shtickle. Now we started the sugya of seva filu mikzaseh, and the Gemara is going to Be'ez Hashem. The Gemara is going to say that it's going to be a machlekes Reb Eliezer and Chachamim on this cloud. So far, we're assuming that seva filu mikzaseh. The Gemara is Be'ez Hashem going to say that it's a machlekes in them gufa. But at this point, we're assuming that everybody holds seva filu mikzaseh. But anyway, so we said over yesterday. I just want to add a little more meat to the bone. I'm ready to get into Santa's story. The Shvus Yankiv brings down that it was Sukkot in Prague, and they had a problem. They had a problem that they only had one esrog, which was an esrog on Murkiv, and they didn't know what to do. They didn't know if they could make a bracha. And the Maisa, so given up Nagav, and it was from the Zekene Adar, the Shach Alein was there. And the Shach said, yeah, you can make a bracha because Seva Filu Mikzaseh. And the Mela, who cares that there's lemon in there? Who cares? But the Maisa has esrog in it. And the Mela became Achana bracha. Zok the Shvus Yankiv. What happened was that the Baal Tefillah was about to make the bracha on the thing, and it came to Hallel, and right before Hallel, the esrog dropped and the pitin broke off. and they saw it as a simim min hashamayim, what the psak is, and lemaisa. Not only that, l'pseif yamav. I think the shach was already a zaken at that point. But Akapan Shas Yankiv says that the shach even was chayzer from his psak. Because this simon hashamayim. So there's a lot of Torah about this nakuda. Do we Torah lavin hashamayim? Yeah. What's tutzach da? Torah lavin hashamayim. So okay. I mean, you could. There's a lot of svaras to say. Mitzad echad, you could say stam pasha because it. Obviously, Torah lavin hashamayim, but it's still a reason to reconsider and relitigate it and to revisit it. Yeah, In the case of the Tana Shalachnoi, they didn't just it's not. They didn't insist not to revisit it. But Lemaisa Seif Kol Seif, Lemaisa they held it. They held Nishvi Rabbi Lezer. They held Nishvi Rabbi Lezer just because, and even it doesn't say in the Gemara that they didn't double check, right? Here they double check. And that would be that's mitzad echad. But there's another nakud over here also. Every time you say Torah b'nei Hashemayim, you could just say Torah b'nei Hashemayim. Over here, they were stuck without an esrog. It was complete. It was final. It was final. What Shamayim did, right? They had one esrog with a pit. One esrog. The esrog fell off, and that year they didn't have an esrog b'chlal. So it was more than they're just Shamayim really put its foot down. Yeah. I don't know if it's making a difference, but just a svar l'chalik. Exactly what if there's a shmuz of Torah Yerushalayim or not. Okay.
At this point in the Torah.
So we're picking up over here. V'hadidnan cow sheichtin oisa biyante for kvi, whatever it is, kvi, kai, kvi, kavi, all the whichever one it is. Eight sheichtin oisa biyante ve'em shachat hayem echasen es damai. Yeah, you're not allowed to shecht this animal on Yontif. So what's the reason? And the understanding is that the pshat is that it's a safek chaya, safek behema. We're going to see exactly what the mitzias is, exactly what its father's, what its mother's, but it's a safek chaya, safek behema. And avad halacha of kisei adam, this is something that we're going to have to remember. Kisei adam, the way to remember it is kisei adam is only by a oif and a chaya and not by a behema. The way to remember it is because it's things that we do in the wild that we shecht in the wild, and we don't want to leave a blood stain over there on the floor. I'm not saying that that's the reason, but I'll want them as a simon to remember where you have kisei adam is only by oifos and chayis and not by behemoths. And memela, so here we have a problem on this kvi. You're not going to know if you could. You're going to shecht it. You don't know if you're going to be able to be mechase. And so memela, so you're being machnis yourself into the suffix. So memela don't shecht. But if you shecht it, because it's a suffix. The Maisa, the Welt asks over here on this kasha the famous shmooze about tzitzis. The Mordechai, it says that it's no problem to put on tzitzis that's a suffix on Shabbos, because the word is because I'm putting on the tzitzis, and once I put on the tzitzis, I'm not mechuyev to put it on because I'm not mechuyev to put on tzitzis because it's a suffix. I don't. There's no din not to put on a beged. You're allowed to put on a beged. So why is this different? Why over here do we tell you not to shecht and you're machnas yourself into a suffix? There's a big the achronim.
Simple as answer because it's terrifying answer. You don't make extra.
But the reason is always.
If you're not mechuyev to do it, then.
No, what do you mean? So what are we talking about? How did this kvi koi come to existence? In other words, that the father is a behema, and the mother is a what? Is a chaya. And now at this point in the Gemara, we're going that everybody holds seh. So in other words, what? So therefore, this animal is clearly clearly has in it is part chaya because the mother is a chaya, right? So why? Because tzvi v'afilu mixas tzvi ella, right? So that can't be ella b'tzvi abal atiyasha. It must be that we're talking about in a case where the tzvi is the chaya, which is the mechaya by kisei adam, is the father. Abal atiyasha that was ba on a behema v'yalda, and what's the machlekes? Il rabbanon lishchait v'lichsi. Right now, and what we say the machlekes rabbanon and Rabbi Lezer is we wanted to say the machlekes of choshel l'zera'av and not choshel l'zera'av, and we wanted to say that Rabbi Lezer holds ain't choshel l'zera'av and Rabbi Chacham holds choshel l'zera'av. Il rabbanon Rabbanon that hold that chosheshin l'zera'av. So l'shchait v'lichsi, right? Because they hold tzvi v'afilu mixas tzvi. So memela avadi you should shecht and you should be mechas because why not, right? Either Rabbi Lezer l'chsheit v'lichsi and Rabbi Lezer holds ein chosheshin l'zera'av, so you for sure should not shecht. So b'kitzer, what are we worried about over here? Yeah. That's right the Gemara. So tomorrow l'olam b'tzvi abati asha. It must be again. The Gemara is going to snake through all the things until the B'Seif on Amud Aleph. The Gemara is going to explain. Rav Papa is going to say the whole cheshbon of what how we go in these three mitzvahs of kisei adam and the matanis and of kvi and oisves benay. Let's say that we're talking about a tzvi abalat yasha. The father is a tzvi, so the zerav is a chaya. V'rabbanan tzvoki mesapki lo. Not that they hold choishish in the zerav mitam vadai. There was misupik. Rabbanan tzvoki mesapki choishish in the zerav and choishish in the zerav. Now why it's a suffix? They're not sure. They're not sure if it's choshel zerav. So if choshel zerav, so then you could say tzvi v'afilu mixas tzvi. But this it's not ain't choshel zerav, and then what? Ain't choshel zerav, and then it's not, and there's no tzvi at all. So mela says gishmak asaf. So what's the barplukta of the Gemara before when we had kvi and oisves benoi mid rabbanon misapkel Rabbi Lezer pshitale? Must be Rabbi Lezer is pashit. That what? That he holds for sure that what? That kvi that they hold them supik if choshel zerav and choshel zerav, and Rabbi Lezer is partially that if he holds ain't choshel zerav, it's he's b'vadi ain't choshel zerav. So fact the Gemara that doesn't stand. V'adatanyem hazroya v'alchayayim ve'akeva noyagim bekvi u beklayim. A klayim which comes from two behemoths is chayiv matanos, because matanos we'll see right that you give to the kohen. That's something that's only known by behemoth, not by chaya. Minakvei pater minamatan. So Rabbi Lezer holds that what? That kvi is pater. Machlokes is Rabbanan and Rabbi Lezer. If kvi is pater minatanos. So now let's try to understand based on what we got so far. So far we established that everybody holds seva afilu mitzaseh, and we also established that everybody that there's a machlokes Rabbi Lezer and the Chachamim about choshel zerav and choshel zerav, and so far we said that the Chachamim hold choshel zerav a suffix choshel zerav, and Rabbi Lezer holds a choshel zerav mitam vade. It's like tomorrow like this. But am I asking? If we're talking about that the tayosh the zachar is a tayosh is a behema haba alatzevya that was ba alatzevya via hold on, and we want to say that Rabbi Lezer holds that what that ein choshel zerav mitam vade. It's very geschmack. Bishlam Rabbi Lezer the pata kasava seva filu miktasel le'amrinat. So what do we mean? Seva filu miktasel le'amrinat. Rashi read those. Not that we're not saying along this here. In other words, because Rabbi Lezer holds that ein choshel zerav mitam vade. So there is no say here, right? Not not a lumdis of seva afilu miksaseh le'amrinon. In other words, there is no miksaseh because he holds ein choshen l'zerav, right? Mitam vade elo, and that's why he says that kvi patim and matanis, because the whole tzad matanis over here is from the tzad behema, which is the zachar, and the zachar Reb Lezer holds mitam vade ein choshen l'zerav. El rabbanon nihi de kasavi seva afilu miksaseh. Again, what did rabbanon hold? Ein choshen l'zerav nihi de kasavi seva afilu miksaseh. So now the problem is we're talking about Zerei L'chaim V'Akeva. Zerei L'chaim V'Akeva is a monetary transaction that the kohen and the owner have they handle him in money. So there's always going to be hamoitzu b'chavel v'raya. So the Gemara says it in a lumdish way. The Gemara asks like this: Bishlama palga lo yoyev. That we'll agree already, right? That's pashit. That since it's talking about money, right? And we talk something. It's divisible, right? Zerei L'chaim V'Akeva is something that's divisible. And if you say sev afilu miksaseh, it's not the pshat that you have to give the whole thing because there's only half seh and half chayah. That we'll agree. That's not going to be a kasha. That obviously that we chayah b'matanis doesn't have to mean that you're going to give the whole matanis. You'll give half. Bishlam palga lo yav because it's half chayah. Fine. Idach palga, but on the palga that the Rabbanon are saying yechayiv leimalei, I see raya dechoshen lezerav ushkol. If the whole markup to be mechayiv me is al choshen lezerav, and the Rabbanon are mesopik, so he should say I see raya, mesukel v'raya. Right, so Mamela, we can't tie the Rabbanon in such a case that there's a Safek Chiv because then it'll be a Mitzvah V'Raya. Ella b'tzvi abala tiyasha. It must be that we're talking about in a case where there's a Vade Tzad Behema here. That's because the mother is a Behema and the father's a Zach. Is the father's a chaya of the yalda, so now it's going to be faket shver. So like bishlam l'rabbanan, we understand why, because my chayiv means b'chatzi matanis. Half is a vade chayiv. The other half you're going to say that what that the other half is the other half and the other half we'll see, and the other half is a tzvi. You're not chayiv, right? Bishlam l'rabbanon, my chayiv b'chatzi matanis. El Rab Lezer l'chayiv b'kulim matanis. Shivim mechayiv in the ganze matanis. Rab Lezer holds ein choshen l'zerav, and since he holds ein choshen l'zerav, so the mother is what? So and the mother is a behema. So fakir Rab Lezer over here is mekel. He should be machmi. He should say you have to be mechayiv the whole matanis. It must be that we're talking about tzvi abalat yasha. In other words, we're talking about the second case. Tzvi abalat yasha. So it would be older. Rab Lezer nami sukim sakule. Ichoshen lezerav oiloi. That what? Rab Lezer's mesopik if choshen lezerav or not. And how does that help? So what's right? So right. The Gemara is going to explain exactly. Rashi says that this is only the lead up for what the Gemara's teretz is. Rav Lezer is also misapik, but the Gemara leads it up like in a question and answer. In fact, the Gemara the Gemara Rav Lezer misapik b'may pligi. So we already established from the last Gemara by Kisei Adam that the Rabbanan are mesopik leiv choshen l'zerav, and we established from this Gemara that we have no other eitzah to explain Rabbi Lezer. It must be that Rabbi Lezer is suki mesapik leiv. So what's the machlekes? So if they're both mesapik leiv, what's the machlekes Rabbi Lezer the chachamim? So the Gemara v'seh v'afilu miksaseh. That the machlekes is gufa about this thing. This svara that we thought was universal in Kuli Alma, now we proved that Akachim must be a machlekes. It's machlekes in them gufa. Rabbanan savi seva afilu miksaseh. Rabbi Lezer sava sev lo miksaseh. And now Rav Papa is gonna, as he does always at the end, he's gonna pull it all together and he's gonna explain exactly what the case. Rav Papa hilkach. We're talking about the case side by Kisei Adam, meaning Kisei Adam that we said that a kvi ain't shoych to be yontif, and matanes And matanis that we said machlokes Rabban Rabbi Lezer. If you mechuyev in matanis lemishkachas ela betzvi habo alatiyasham. By tzvi habo alatiyasham. So in other words, there is a vadai behema here. There's a suffix chaya. The bein Rabban Rabbi Lezer misap gelu yichoshin lezerav you loy v'kamif you besev afilu mitzasem. And the suffix is legabe sev afilu mitzaseh. So in other words, so let's go through the cheshbon. So so the Mishnah of by Kvi and Shechtunas to be on is going like the Rabbanan. And since it's going like the Rabbanan, and we have a suffix, if it's we have a suffix Choshen Zerav, but if we do say for sure that Sev Afilu Mitzaseh. So Mamela what? So the suffix is the Tzvi. We're not sure if the Tzvi. For sure, if there was a mixer seh here, then you would definitely be mechuyev because tzvi of afilu mixer tzvi, you'd be mechuyev kisei adam. But we're not sure if choshen l'zarav or not. So mele, that's the suffix by kisei adam. It's going like the Rabbanan. Rashi says we could have gone like Rabbi Lezer as well. That's and it's talking about the other case, but we wanted to mukim that Mishnah in Beya like the Rabbanan. That's that case. Now, and in the case of Matanis, where it's a machlokes, is also talking about such a case. We're talking about tzvi habat yasha, and everybody holds that everybody holds it's a suffix if choshen l'zerav, and since it's a suffix choshen l'zerav, so we have a suffix. So and for Matanis you have to be a behema, right? And but the question is, sev afilu mitzaseh or not? Right? So later Rabbanan, you're going to be mechuyev because sev afilu mitzaseh, and you're going to be mechuyev on half. And later Rabbi Lezer, he holds sev afilu mitzaseh le'amrinon. So the Gemara, le'inyan oisev es benoi mishkachas lo bein b'tayish habal atzivyo or bein b'tzvi habal atiyasha. Why? We're going to, and the Gemara's going to explain. He's going to read us the whole thing. B'tayish habal atzivyo u'le'isura. By Taish Haba Tzivya, we could be talking about Isura. It's the suffix is that Lagabi Issa. That what? And the Gemara is going to explain. Drabanan Savri. Drabanan Savri. Again, Oisva is only negate by a behema. And it's going to be a suffix drabanan, and Avad it's not going to be negay malchus. Drabanan tzavi dil choshen l'zerav, maybe choshen l'zerav, and if you choshen l'zerav, sev afilu mitzaseh amrina mil it's also because maybe it's possible that it's also for Rabbi Lezer sev and hinami the choshen l'zerav, but sev afilu mitzaseh lo yamrin. And so memela what? So in this case, Rabbi Lezer is going to hold it's mutal l'chatchila because why? Because even on that side that is a zerav here, who cares? But l'maisa I don't care because sev afilu mitzaseh lo yamrinan and b'tzvi habat yasha malchus. We'll have and we could also be mukim the machlokes of Rabbi Lezer Chachamim by tzvi habat yasha over there, and it's the game mamish malchus. Why Rabbanan savin he nami the choshen l'zerav avada choshen l'zerav. Even if you'll say the choshen l'zerav sev afilu mitzaseh amrinan umalkinan lei, right by tzvi abal tiyasha, since the mother is a tiyasha, so I don't care about the suffix of I don't care about the suffix of maybe choshen l'zerav, not choshen l'zerav. It's irrelevant because l'maisa sefik sefik there is a chelik that's vadai behema meli mechuyev malchus. Rabbi Lezer Sava Yisura Ikka malchus leka. Rabbi Lezer is going to say no, I can't give malchus. Why? Because maybe what choshen l'zerav and then it'll be sev afilu mitzaseh. Yeah. Isure Ikka malchus leka. Isure Ikka dilma ein choshen l'zerav. Maybe ein choshen l'zerav and there's nothing just a behema. V'haisem al Yehu, and this is 100% bona fide set. And malchus leka dilma choshen l'zerav. Maybe we have to be choshen l'zerav, and there is some chaya that's mixed in here. V'sev afilu mitzaseh le'amrinan. That shit is Rabbi Lezer sev afilu mitzaseh le'amrinan. That is the end of that Gemara. Let's move on. Yeah, start the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda. What is this kvi? Rabbi Yehuda, kvi, a whole bunch of shittas. Kvi beria bifnei atzmahi, v'leichriyu b'chachamim, imin behemahi, imin chayihi. In other words,
it's not really a suffix.
It is, what?
It's a suffix in din, but it's not a suffix what it is. Okay?
Well, in other words, we're saying it's not a crossbreed between a tzvi and a tiyasha. It's a very different aspect. It's a new thing, and this thing we didn't identify. Chazal could not. What? Yeah. Okay, there's a lot of svaras here. Okay. Yeah. So the Gemara weiter. This is ayel habar. Well, we're going to get back to this ayel habar. Ayel habar is this wild ayel, this wild ram, a wild ram. Kitanoi. So that's the chachamim. That's the Amoraim that thinks. The Maisa, we have a Mishnah, we have a Brisa that has 4 shitas. Kitanoi kviza ayel habar. V'yeshayim ze abam and atayish minatzivya, which was Rav Chisda said. It says kviza abam and atayish minatzivya. V'yosiyayim kvi beri fnei atzvi leichri v'chamim min chayim min behema. Rav Shimon Gamliel loyma men behemi v'shel dushoy hayim megadlim behem adarim. It's a min behema. Base to show madarim. So what is he saying with the show base to show him madarim? Is he bringing a raya that it must be it's a behema because the chaya it's impossible to raise adarim? Could be that would be the thing, or he means to say that I'm familiar with it because they would raise it. I don't know. Okay. So those are the 4 shitas. Amrav Zayd, Amrav Safra, Amrav Amnuna. Hadi easy the bala, right? So we spoke about ayel habar, and now we're talking about easy the bala. Yeah, Sheirois legabe mizbeach, right? We're talking about these wild goats. Yeah, Sheirois legabe mizbeach. Savalaki hadam Rabbi Yitzchak esa behemis mona kosov vesuloi. That the Torah counted only 10 behemis. The Torah says, right? I'm sure kesavayes, and then ayol tzvi ve'achmor, right? Akoy v'soy v'zama, right? That's it. V'hani mi deloika chashav lehu b'hadi chayis. Since it's not counted in the chayis, shma mina deizu ninu. It must be that it's a goat, and since it's a goat, so therefore it is it's ksheres l'gab mizbech. What exactly the shakar v'tari in the sugi is? Maybe we'll say it's a little bit of a hezbollah soon. We'll see in a second soon. Maskiv lo Rav Acha bar Yankiv ve'emam ayol utzvi prat kol behema klal pratu klal nasa klal moisev ala prat. I'm sorry. Ayol utzvi prat kol behema klal pratu klal nasa klal moisev ala prat. Ikatuvam. So why does the Torah say so many different things? Why do I need so many pratim? There's 10 animals that are cheshbon. So that can't be the pshat. Maskiv lo Rav Acha b'rei Ravika v'dilma mina de'akoy nenu. Maybe, how do we know? Maybe this is the min of a akoy. Yeah? 1 second. Amalei Rav Acha b'rei Rav Ravashi v'Amalei Rav Acha b'rei Rav Ravashi v'dilma mina de'soyoy mina de'zama nenu. So it's 2 different questions. One said it's mina de'akoy nenu, and the other one says no, maybe it's mina de'soyoy mina de'zama nenu. It's mashma that they didn't know what these things were, and therefore the Gemara asks the kasha, maybe it's mina de'akoy, maybe it's mina de'soyoy, maybe it's mina de'zama. One of them only declared that maybe it's mina de'akoy, and the other one's declared maybe it's mina de'soyoy, mina de'zama nenu. Yeah. So I want to. Why didn't everybody declare all 4 of them, all 3 of them? Maybe it's mina the Akai, mina the Sai, mina the Zama. Yeah. Oh, but 1 second. So I want to say like this. If you look at Rashi, Rashi says. Minalach the mina days who dilma mina the akoinenu v'lei adina maniu. Oy soy oizamer hanach delay bekinam buhu v'dilma haninenu. What's this two lashonis? Lei adina maniu and lei bekinam buhu. What's these 2 lashonis? Yeah. So I want to say like this, and this is this is so it's a cloud over here. in the and how this whole sugya goes like this. The Gemara is clear. These things they're not called izim for no reason, right? You don't call something an A's, right? For no reason. Of course, it's called the A's because it's very similar to an A's. However, it is called Isa Debala. It's a certain kind of A's, and this Isa Debala is somewhat different. So, what would be the aside if you decide if it's called the A's that it's kosher l'gab mizbeach or not? It depends like this. It depends. If the Torah gave it one of the minim it gave it a separate name, one of the other 10, so that's not part of Isim. Otherwise, it goes into the regular name of Ace, right? So the Gemara, right? So the Gemara says and what were the kashas? So and there was Akai, Soy and Zomer. They knew what Soy and Zomer were. They just they weren't familiar with it, right? Akai, they didn't know B'chlal what it was. So first of all, the first man that I asked, maybe it's Akai. And maybe it's Akai because we don't know what it is. So this could be an Akai. Maybe Akai means Easy Debala. Then the next man that said, ask the Nocha Kasha, not the same Kasha, he asked a different Kasha. We know what Soy and Zomer is. But however, maybe this Easy Debala is very similar to what Soy and Zomer. Because since we're not familiar with it, so we don't know it. It's two separate questions. Okay, very geschmack. So, weiter. Yeah, Zok the Gemara next. Zok the Gemara. Amalei Rav Chanan Rav Ashi. Amei Mashari Tarbayu. That Ameimar this easy Debala he was Shari Tarbayu. He said that it's fat, it's chaylev is mutter. So Vai says he holds that what that it must be it's a chaya, it's not a behemoth b'chlal and avad, it's not going to be mutter on the mizbeach. Yeah, that's one shtickle gemara. Zok Gemara, we're going to have three gemaras that are very similar. Ba'imine Abba Breid Rabbi Minyamin Bachia Miravuna Bachia Hani easy Debala Ma'ul Gav Mizbeach. Yeah, Ma'ul Gabi Mizbeach. Amalei Adkan Lepligi Rabbi Yosef Rabbanon Ela B'Shor Abar. The Machlokes Rabbi Yosef and Rabbanon we're going to see soon in this Mishnah about Shor Abar, and the whole Machlokes is Gabi Shor Abar. But easy the ball is clear. What's that? Ditnan Shor Abar Min Behemu. Rabbi Yosef Yom Min Chayu. So the only Machlokes is Gabi Shor Abar. Shor Habar is very, very commonly assumed that we're talking about buffalo. Yeah, not 100% sure, but Pashas we're talking about the buffalo. Shor Habar min behemu. Rabbi Yosef min chayahu. So now he asked them a question, and now he's saying that Ad kan lepligi Rabbi Yosef Rabbanon only legabi Shor Habar, but they didn't argue legabi is the bala. Why? Because the Rabbanon Savri mid mitargaminon torbela mina de behemu. For the fact that the Torah says the targum on Shor Habar is tor bila, which is another one tor bila, a tor of outside of a wild tor. So as lashon of a tor, which is a shor, is mina de behemu. Rabbi Yosef amid kachashlu bahadi chayis mina de chayu. The mice it's in the list of the chayis. It must be it's a mina de chayu. Yeah, that is the machlokes Zok the Gemara, but that's only over there. Aval hani the divrei hakom mina de is nenu over here. There's no place. It's not in the list of chayis, and since it's not in the list of chayis, so for sure it's mina deis because it's called the eis the bala, and it's not in the list of the chayis. So there's no makom to be chayshish that maybe it is a chaya. That's how the Gemara goes. Now, and then the Gemara is going to say the same knech. Maskula Ravaka Brei Ravika V'Doma Mina Da Akrinenu Amle Ravina Ravashi V'Doma Mina Da Soya Mina Da Zamanenu, and we say have the same husband that they didn't know what the taich of Akai was, but they knew what Soya Zama is, but they weren't familiar with it. That's that Gemara. Okay, that's that sugya. So Lamaisa. I just want to say a few things. First of all, there's a very geschmacker b'kvega on this thesis. This is a very geschmacker b'kvega. That's a kash like this. Frek toisvis, that the Gemara says that Torbala is a suffix, right? Shor Habar is a suffix. Why is it a suffix? Because Bitzad Echad, the Targum calls it calls it Shor Habar. Shor is Mashra Tzachaya, and Midachisa it's listed in the psukim of the Chayas, right? But something that's not listed in the psukim of the Chayas, right? Yeah. So if it's not listed in the thing, it should. Yeah, so then it should blive if it's not listed in the Chayas, then it blive, because it has a name of Shor Habar, Shor is, that's it. Shor, once you get the name of a Shor, and the Hez was very gishmak, from the fact that people call it a Shor, meaning that they're saying there's like a vote by, they're voting with their feet, they're voting by naming it and giving it a name of a Shor, meaning that it's similar enough to a Shor that it should be called a Shor, and Memela to the point that it blives a behema. Good. That's fractosis. And tosis bleib shver. Fractosis. So what's going to be with ayel abar? That ayel abar is not in the list of the psukim. So why should ayel abar be a chaya? It should be a behema because ayel habar. Azoi fractosis. Who says it's an ayel abar? There's two animals. There's ayol that's obviously a ram, which is a behema, but there's also ayol utzvivi achmor, which is a chaya. And memela, maybe this is the ayol abar is the ayol. Yeah. So Gega says Vaistois that one is pronounced ayol and one is pronounced ayol, and there was a Kabbalah that it's ayol abar, not ayol abar. No, but I want to give one tiny little loisafa. One tiny little loisafa. It's partial that it's ayola. It's not ayola bar, because you don't call something ayola bar. You don't call something you don't call it. It's the wild type of lion. It's not a wild lion. You call something a wild what's it called? Right? Something which is domesticated, it's wild counterpart. You call it a wild boar, a wild this, right? But you're not going to call something ayol habar. You're not going to say ayol habar if the regular ayol is an ayol, right? You will never call it that. So it's partial that it's ayol habar, right? Just one little connection. Okay, that's that. Okay, lemaisa. What do we do with buffalo? So, first of all, the most important thing is that buffalo is not what we call buffalo in America. Buffalo, what we call in America, is a completely different animal. That is an animal that it's also has it's maligator mafres paris, obviously, but it's a wild animal that's not could be, you could be mistapik also, but it's not the animal that they talk about in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch, however, talks about it. The Mechaber is paskins like the Rambam. That the Rambam paskins like the Tanakama. That what Shor Habar is min behemu, right? However, right? Yeah, is a min behemu. However, and over here in Siman Pei, Agavocha, it's Daf Pei and Siman Pei. The Ramah is not chaylik, but the Shach says Ayin Daf all the way back in Daf Chavches in Siman Chavches. Over there, the Ramah is chaylik. It says that on a suffix on a buffalo, a person you have to be mechasa b'chumra, and Memela it come out, and the Ramah even says that you should try to shecht also a bird at the same time so you can make a bracha. Okay, that is the shtickle. What else do I want to read? I don't remember. Let's go right. Let's move on. Yeah, Zok Gemara. Let us start the sugya of any other gishmak kazachin. I remember. Okay. Zok Gemara. Okay. Yeah. One more connection to the next sugya. Zok Gemara. Right. Keitzad Ashoichet Amar Abayishia Kula Maslis and like Rab Shemin. Our Mishnah, getting back to our Mishnah. Our Mishnah had a whole list of if you shech this, you shech that, you shech this, you shech that, you get this malchus, that malchus. So the Gemara, Rabbi Shekulam Asis and look Rab Shimon. It's not like Rab Shimon that what Rab Shimon holds shchita shein ruya lishma shchita and mela. This will be shchita shein ruya in our Mishnah, and you won't be mechayev oisev es benoi because Rab Shimon says later on in the Mishnah we're going to see that Rab Shimon's point to b'shar niskel that if it's a shchita shein ruya, then you're not going to be mechayev oisev es benoi. So over here, so in our Mishnah also you won't be chayev oisev es benoi because it's a shchita shein ruya, and the Gemara is going to explain how. So I just want to read Ois over here. Very interesting on Toises. The Toises, which is really going on the Mishnah, that this is really a Toises that belongs in the Mishnah, Dachtzach, right? But Toises reads the Ois over here, that the Mishnah says, and we mentioned it slightly when we got to the Mishnah, that the Mishnah says, HaSheichet Chayiv Karos, Ushneim Soifkines Haboyim. So you're going to be chayiv shneim soifkines haboyim, meaning that you're going to be chayiv sai karis and sai malchus on what? On this thing. Yeah. So this is really jikav. It says Taisis. It doesn't stay with Rabbi Yitzchak because Rabbi Yitzchak says in Makis the chayiv krisa shalaku niftru midei krisa on, right? Rabbi Yitzchak says that chayve kris Gemara Makis that chayve krisos she laku is neftu mi krisason. So Rabbi Yashiv brings down over here in this sugya, he brings down one of the biggest fights in the past 500 years, which was the Maribei Rav. The Maribei Rav famously was miyasid smicha. Why was it miyasid smicha? Because the Rambam paskins like Rabbi Yitzchak, not like this Taisus. That the Rambam paskins like Rabbi Yitzchak. That if somebody is a chayve krisus, then and he gets malchus, then what he's going to get? He's nifteru mikrisasan. So Maribei Rav had an influx of the anusim. Influx of those anusim, those people that those that we call, some people call them Moranos, whatever, those from Spain, that were Rahman al-Itzlan. They were forced or not forced. Some were forced, some weren't forced, and they were over in a lot of creases and they wanted a kapara. So their answer was to start getting malchus, but you can't get malchus without smicha. So B'meila Maribei Rav came out. He wanted to reinstate malchus for this purpose, right? Famous. What was the Eitzah? The Eitzah was based on a different Rambam. The Rambam says we could reinstate smicha by getting all the Rabbanim that are in Eretz Yisrael, and that's what he did. He put it together, and he gave the smicha to himself and to Rabbi Yosef Kari and somebody else. And famously, Rabbi Yosef Kari, the Mechaber, one of the poskim, had one of those that had smicha. He's taka remained one of he remained the poskim acher and somewhat based on the smicha. Okay, but anyway, and the machloikis was very interesting. This is one more kneish. The Marabach argued with the Maribei Rav, and he held it's not going to help. Why? Because he held that you're not going to get this halacha of Rabbi Yitzchak that kol chayve krisa should laku a niftu mikrisasan. It's not a free for all. It's not. You can't go and barter. You can't just go into Bez and say, okay, give me a malchus and take my krisis back. It doesn't work like that. If the pshat is if I was mechuyev, if I got srah for malchus and I got malchus under those circumstances, then I'll patazich from the krisis, but not the other way around. It's a chayve krisa shalaku somehow. Oh, okay, I'm going to come into Eretz Yisrael now, give me some malchus because I want to get rid of my krisis. That's not going to work. And that was his svara to be chaylik, one of the svaras to be chaylik with Maribei Rav, which very, very interesting. Jikava Yudea. So Yishalaku, it would be mashmal. You're saying it's not like the Malbach.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got it.
Unless you define malchus by best in giving.
Oh, yeah. Here we say shalaku means laku. It doesn't mean stam you got a clap. It means malchus. Has to have a thing malchus. Yeah, very geschmack. Yeah, very good. Okay, so let's go weiter. Oh, Rabbi Yishia, kulam asisin look Rabbi Shimon. Mimai mihi dekatani kach bachutz arishin chayiv karis ushneim betzor. psulim, ushneim soif knes arbaim. That if let's say you had two kachim achutz, you had two karbanis, they were both pachutz. So on the first one, it's a shchutei chutz. And the second one, the Mishnah says, you're only going to be chayiv ois ves benoi, but you're not going to be chayiv shchutei chutz. Why are you not going to be chayiv shchutei chutz on the second one? Because the second one is not royal lavio pesach hamoed, because it's ois ves benoi. And since Shchita is Shen Roya Loisha Shchita, so the first one, and Rashi read Zois, and this is a big shmooze. The Rashi read Zois. So why am I mechuyev al Shchutei Chutz? So Rashi, the Teretz is that the Torah was machalish exeris hakasav that you're going to be mechuyev, even though Ba'atzim Reb Shimon holds Shchita Shen Roya Loisha Shchita. But l'chura. But legabi shchita chutz, the Torah was machalish. It's going to have it in shchita. But avad it doesn't have it in shchita. Benegei oisav benoi. The achronim want to know why not. So we have a migu just like we have a concept of migu to have a doifin in Shabbos, have a doifin in sukkah. Why don't we have the same thing over here by shchita? Migu to have a shchita legabi shchita chutz, have a shchita legabi oisav benoi as well. Yeah, that's what the achronim want to know. So they say a teretz, the one teretz that I know. They say a teretz is like this, that it has to be mamish at the same time. Just like Taka, we say the Gemara discusses it. You won't say Mikra have you definitely Shabbos have you definitely lenyan sukkah in the weekday, only on that Shabbos, right? So over here also we're talking about you want it to be shchutei chutz for the next to have been his chashev as a shchita by the next shchita. It could be you won't say it. You go through the cheshbon exactly when the mice of oisav benoi is. We cleared that suffix. Okay, this is the yesh malafal. But anyway, so the Gemara vayta. So what was the Gemara's kasha? In fact, the Gemara that the pshat is on the first one. He's mikto katlei sheini miskabel b'fneimu. So the first one is already legabi oisav benoi. The first one is not a shchita, and memela. So the second one will be vayta miskabel b'fneim. It's not oisav benoi. It was never oisav benoi because the first one is shchita sheini roya. So mela what? I should be able to have a second shchita. I should be chayiv shchutei chutz on both. Yeah. Question number that was question number one. We're going to bring in three rayos from our Mishnah that it's not like Reb Shimon. Second one, chulin b'fnim. The Mishnah says that chulin b'fnim shneim psulim v'asheni seveges harbayim. That if he took two karbanos of chulin and he brought them both and shechted them both in the Hazara, so what shneim psulim v'ashay both of them apostle out p'nim v'asheni seveges harbayim out oisves b'nai michti shamina Reb Shimon mashchita shein roya l'shchita kama mikto kaba babatlei. The first one he killed because it was b'fnim. So shchita shein roya. So memela he's not going to be oisves b'nai. On the second one, the sheni amai seveges harbayim. Why are you going to get Malchus for the second one? What? He didn't check the first one. And the third case, the third raya, not like Reb Shimon, and this one is the Lomdes. Kachim b'fneim harishain kasher upater v'asheni seifik zabayim upasul. So what are we saying? That the first one was kachim b'fneim. Right, the first, both of them were kachim b'fneim. So I did the first one was kachim b'fneim. Right, Frak the Gemara. Michdi Shamina Reb Shimon da mashchita she'en roya l'shmashchita shchitas kachim nami shchita she'en roya. Why? The kamid le'zarek dam le'mishteri basar. Here's where it comes to the lumdus. That the Gemara wants to argue that Reb Shimon shchita she'en roya l'shmashchita. It's going to be every single kachim should be shchita she'en roya. Why? Because you have to wait. You have to wait for the zrika for shchita. This is the shmuz of the Gemara, yeah. The question is, so the achronim ask a kasha, and then you have that every time. Forget about kachim. Typically, all karbanis need malicha because until malicha you can't eat it. About dam, so l'chura should be a shchita she'en roya, right? So over there they say different terutzim, and they say maybe the pshat is that by malicha you could still eat it b'umtza before the dam was pirish, or the other eitzah is you could say that the pshat is that dam somehow is considered a isem b'chutz. Somehow mashenkin the shchita itself was roy, mashenkin over here it's not. Ayin sham. What?
Shita Chanaroi is in the Shita. The dam is
over here by Kachim, over here. Oh, yeah, that's the one that they're saying. Yeah, but the problem is it's Kachim over here, and the problem is we're saying that it's not a chsarn. We're not talking about that. It should be not Royal Akila Sam, as they were saying, because it's Kachim. Okay, that's where you have to get. Okay, good. Yes, we're right. Yep. She generally the capital is already done later. Shani, I might say Zaboyim Upasul. Why is the second one Shavik Zaboyim Upasul? What? The second one should be. The first one was a shit generally. So the second one should be Napi Yosef Esbenoi. Elash Mami. No, the like Rab Shimon. Zakmar Pshita Dachi some. Zakmar Shchitas Kachim Mitzvicha. Lezak. And I think I mean the Shchita Rui. Tahai Nachav Izarik Dam Lay Mystery. Because if I would do a Nechira and then do the Zrika Lay Mystery, Basa Vichisha Mystery, Basar Ushchita Royahi Kamash Malan that it's considered a Shchita. It's Kamash Malan that it is going to be considered a Shchita Shana Roya Lloyd Reb Shimon. So the Gemara Velilki, and here's the last sugya. We'll finish off with this sugya. Velilki Naim Shom Lav the Mechusas Man. Let's get Malchus out a lav of Mechusas Man. Yeah, the Tanya, Minayin Luchal Absulum Shabashar Vishabaseh, Shu Below Yiratze, Tamalayim Vesher Veseh, Saro Avikalot, Libid Al Absulum Shabashar Vishabaseh, Shu Below Yiratze. So, L'chura, what? There's a Malchus. So, what's the question? The Gemara, the Mishnah reckons a cheshbon of the Malchus, and we all keep our cheshboning Malchus al Soitz Vesbenoi, Malchus out Shchutei Chutz, but we never cheshbon the Malchus of what? Of B'chus Zman, right? So why don't we also add the Malchus of B'chus Zman as well? We're in the parak of Oisves B'noi. We're not in the parak of B'chus Zman, and therefore it's not a Kachim Nika Shaila. We're talking about Oisves B'noi. Oisves B'noi is the only things we cheshbon, and that's why we didn't talk about the other Malchus that you're talking again. It's B'chus Zman. It's not true. We do cheshbon the malchus of kosher machot. So the Gemara will refine that teretz. The Katani, it says first, the Katani kosher machot are rishakayiv karz shneim seifik nezaboyim. So shneim seifik nezaboyim. One of them, the first one out kosher machot, and the second one outside sbenai. So we do rechen or lav in the chroi. So what are we saying? We don't do lav in the chroi. So the Gemara. I'll tell you. Bishlam Masheni. Oh no, the Gemara reads this. Bishlam Masheni Mishum Lav Doisev Esbenai. El Rishon Amai Seifik Lav Mishum the Shkutei Chutz. Right? So right is Shkutei Chutz. So we are doing Lav in the Chroi. So the Gemara into Santa Teretz. Kol Heicha the Leka Lav Doisev Esbenai. Chashuv Lav in the Chroi. This was the policy of this time. All these, whenever the Gemaras, we always need a hezbollah. What's the pshat? We're explaining somehow what the editorial decisions were of the Tana, right? We need a little bit of a hezbollah. The Mishnah says this was the policy of this Tana. That sometimes he's going to say lav in the chroi, sometimes he's not. If this action gets nothing else besides oiseves benoi, gets something else or nothing, doesn't get oiseves benoi, so we'll talk about lav in the chroi. But if it's already getting oiseves benoi, we don't mention lav in the chroi. Yeah. Kol echad lekal lav oiseves benoi chashuv lav in the chroi. Kol echad lekal lav oiseves benoi chashuv lav in the chroi. Maybe we could say a svara. I'm just throwing out there a svara that the pshat is. We want to say that this action, you get malchus on it. It's a very serious action. You get malchus on this action, right? But that's what we want to say. We're not looking to add other things that don't have that. It's not going to be a discrepancy if we don't mention in parak oiseves benoi malchus that's nuchroi, that's not in this parak. Now of us, but we want to make sure, we want you to know that every action gets malchus on it. One malchus, two malchus is not going to make such a difference. I don't know. That's fine. Okay. Reb Zera Amam. Reb Zera Amam Hanach L'Mechus Zman. That cost of Nitkoi Lasei. That what? That Mechus Zman is not it's not a lav, it's an asay. My time with the makro. Miyoy Mashmini v'Halo Yerotze. Miyoy Mashmini in Meikara lav. Mikaraloi. Yem Hashmini Yem Mikaraloi. Lava Bamachal Asay. That the pshat is that we're learning it out from this pasuk of Miyam Mashini Holy Yerotza Miyam Mashini Yem Mikaraloi, and the Meluat that and this is where the mukar of Mechus's man is Aser. It's a lava Bamachal Asay, and you're not going to get Malchus, and it's not from the pasuk of Lo Yerotza, which is a few psukim before. Frankly, Gemara, this pasuk of Miyam Mashini V'holi Yerotza Miyam Mashini Mikaraloi. Miyamashmini is needed to something else. It says it has to remain 7 days. Tachazimai is only 7 days. Halai lechazi 5 days, and night it is chazi. Uksiv miyamashmini v'holi Yerotza only starts from the 8th day. Miyamashmini v'holi in laila loy. Okay, so laila lekadusha yom la'atzah. And for there we darshan that I could already be makdish it the night before. So we need the pasuk Miyam Mashmini already for his Rav Abduriki's drasha. So Gemara, yeah, and that what another pasuk of Kain Tasel Shachal Tzeinecha, which is Moisif on this drasha that it's Miyam Mashmini in Miyam Mashmini B'Holi Yerotza, and it's Takablai B'Zalava B'Chum Chal Say.